Welcome to the Food Professor Podcast, Season 3, Episode 28. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm the Food Professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Well, Sylvain, you're back. You're back from your Alberta adventure. Now, we touched on it last episode a little bit, what you were doing. What did you learn about, and who did you meet about, and what did you hear about innovation in what looked like a couple of very busy conferences?
I mean, the conference itself had 4,000 to 5,000 people. It's one of the largest shows in the country. Yeah, so I met a lot of entrepreneurs, people in government, some VCs, angel investors. It was a great crowd, and of course, they were conferences. I gave a talk about the future of food and what's been going on, and I kind of provided the audience with a reality check because when you go to innovation shows, people tend to be very positive, but sometimes they tend to be not overly realistic either. And so you and I on the show, we talk about some of the challenges that the industry is facing. So I wanted to kind of provide the audience with the ugly part of the market and then go into the bad and then the good in the end. And just to kind of tell people where we see opportunities to invest. But also there was a couple of seances where you actually had pitches, companies pitching to VCs, and they were raising. Some of them were raising 500,000. Some of them were raising 5 million. But it was kind of it was very well organized, and I was sitting in the room and watching these activities, and I thought, wow, this is happening in Calgary. There's lots going on in Calgary. I think, in the last 5 years, they're starting to move beyond the oil and gas mentality. Yeah. They're trying to figure out other sectors, and one of them is agri-food. And as you know, I'm involved with CDL, met some folks at the Creative and Destruction Lab Rockies over at the University of Calgary while I was there last week. And there's lots going on for sure. And I do expect more to happen in the future in Calgary. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about food retail sales that are dropping. And so again, StatsCan came out last week with some new data, still indicating that things are pretty soft in food retailing right now. Yeah. But there is some good news for restaurants, for food service. So our good friend Vince from Circana, he just released a study report last week showing that the number of visits is up during the first quarter of 2023, and StatsCan kind of confirmed that there's more business thrown at food service right now. So before COVID, 39% of our food budget was actually spent at restaurants. Okay, so that went down to 24% during COVID.
I'm surprised it was that high, by the way. It makes me question the number a little bit, but anyway.
Well, I'm just working with StatsCan here, so I'm not questioning numbers. I'm just looking at trends. But now, using the same data set, we're back to 39% for the first time since COVID started. So it means that people are prioritizing restaurants as much as before. Now, are they spending more? According to StatsCan, it's about the same. But again, it really, to me, I feel that perhaps restaurants are going through a renaissance, a post-COVID renaissance, if you will.
Post-COVID bounce. Now, it does run a little bit at odds at what Restaurant Canada has to say in their reports and their forecasts, which they forecast. Now, maybe they're positioning because they want the government to extend some funding or something, but when you look at their numbers, the index is down and the forecast is not great. It is not positive.
But the NDP group, which is now Circana, I tend to trust their data, and they're saying the same thing as StatsCan. So I went through numbers this weekend. I thought, maybe there's some revenge spending going on in food service.
Well, I definitely think it is this three-part shift, right? One part is just economic challenges. Like if you can't afford to buy much in general, you're going to be very judicious about what you buy. 2 is the shift to travel. 3, as you rightly point out, is shift to experiences, right? I got enough stuff. I want to go out and have dinner with my friend. We had a wonderful dinner when we were when you were in Toronto. And that was our first go-to, right? We had a great dinner. So listen,
but it wasn't cheap.
Well, it's funny because we started talking to the bartender and servers about hospitality included. We got to have that, and he goes, "Well, you sure people would like wouldn't mind the price increase?" I'm like, "Man, they wouldn't be eating here if they were worried about price. It was not an inexpensive."
Exactly.
Place. So I think they still. I feel like some restaurants are still stuck in their head about that, right? They're like, are they going to worry about the extra $1 on the $45 pork chop? I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think those diners, we go special occasion. It's always special occasion.
Fewer hours of operation, higher prices.
Yeah.
They tend to be. They tend. So the sector seems to be doing much better than last year, which is, to me, it's good news because the food service industry is a very, very important industry for our economy. It gets people out. Gets people out and about to spend on other things than just because let's face it, it
gets them off social media. By the way, it gets them off social media. Which
gets them off social media, and for Retail Council of Canada, you want the food sector to do very well because that's the bait to get people out to spend more at shops, other shops.
Well, listen, let me wrap that by saying I hope that Stats Can and Circana are right because I want great things to happen for our restaurateurs. So there you go. Now we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. We have a great guest on the podcast today. A very special guest in this episode is Sheena Russell, founder and CEO Made with Local. She's raising the bar on sustainable snacking. That's her line, not mine. Sheena's based in Halifax, a fellow Haligonian. Is that how you came across her? Is she kind of present, or is from a larger industry perspective you came to know?
Yeah, actually, I met Sheena and her husband. I think it was probably the first year I was in Halifax, really, and they invited me over to their business, and of course, their business was only a few years old at the time, and since then, I mean, the company has matured into something that I think is super wonderful, very successful. Sheena is an amazing person when it comes to social media. She knows how to use social media very well, very effectively. And it's not just about the business. It's not about selling. It's about talking to people, talking to humans, and conveying value. So she does an incredible job. And so I've been following her company for a very long time now, and I've always been quite impressed.
Our last episode, very, very popular episode. Thanks to all the listeners. We were talking about aquaculture and a bit of controversy in BC. Now, as a follow-up to that, you and I were chatting after. We said, it would make sense to invite the minister to give their perspective because they're really, we were talking about them. So you have extended an invitation to the Honorable Joyce Murray, Federal Minister of Fisheries, whose name was brought up many times, to join us. So hopefully she'll come back and or her team will look well upon us. If they're listening now, please come and talk about the issue and we'd like to have a fulsome discussion of it.
Yeah, we've done that before. Yeah. We've done that with the Code of Conduct, of course. We invited both Deanne and Michael to talk during different episodes, and we love debates. This is what this podcast is all about, debates.
All right, let's get into some more news. So, interestingly, you were shocked that Tupperware could go out of business. This has been percolating for a while. They seem to have watched the last 20 years go by. I mean, it's funny because they've got some neat technology, like sensor technology that tells you when the food goes bad. So, what do you think it means? I mean, you would think, I'm going out on a limb here, with more people working from home, they're keeping more food, like they're making food and they're storing it, but they seem to have missed something. What's your observations about
Well, first of all, they're making Tupperware, the company, is actually making some noise just because they're having a hard time raising money. so they're having a hard time financing their operations. That's one thing. It's a $2 billion business approximately, but Tupperware is known to everyone. I mean, for a very long time, people
like Kleenex,
have actually
right?
seen, I've seen people selling Tupperware, having Tupperware parties. These were social events for many, many years, many decades. But my feeling is that even though we have a more domesticated market compared to before COVID, millennials and the new generations aren't buying into this, and they're attracted to other types of products. I mean, Rubbermaid. There are other companies, major players that have actually gone into that space, and they've been very successful. And they have a very different distribution strategy. As a result of some of these threats, Tupperware actually had to sign a deal with Target to sell retail for the first time.
Yeah.
So they are now selling retail and going through this very homey channel using people to sell their products. So I'm honestly, of course, because of COVID, there were no Tupperware parties, and I suspect that the momentum was completely killed as a result of the pandemic, and now they're desperate to find new channels. I was like, as you were, I was a bit surprised to hear that Tupperware is in trouble, and frankly, I suspect that they'll be looking for new ways to do business, or else they'll just disappear.
They got a powerful brand. I mean, it could work in wholesale, could work on TV retail, could work in a bunch of different places. So anyway, we wish them the best. Let's talk about Bank Canada.
The C2C model, I guess, when it comes to Tupperware is kind of fading away. That's kind of what I'm getting out of the Tupperware story. Yeah,
it's a niche. I mean, it was a great enabler in its time, but we're talking 20, 30 years ago. So time has just moved on.
Have you ever been to the Tupperware party?
It's not the kind of party I probably would accept an invitation to, actually.
I've never been invited to a Tupperware party. I'm insulted.
Not to diss Tupperware, but I'm not going to their party. Let's just put it that way. Unless they have got rock stars or something there for me to go see.
Or food.
No, I wouldn't get.
No, not even food. No,
that wouldn't get there. So Bank of Canada decision coming up. Actually, the Bank of Canada decision will be pretty much on the day, or what's the date today?
The day after. So yesterday. So we are expecting rates to go up again. That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of people. More than 40% of mortgage holders in Canada have a variable rate. So, and if you have a $300,000 mortgage amortized over 25 years, you're basically paying $5,000 to $6,000 more to keep your mortgage compared to last year, a year. That's a lot of money.
You're basically running to stand still in that case, right?
Yeah. So on the one side, we're seeing at retail that nobody's spending more money. They're just hedging against inflation at the grocery store. But they are forced to pay more to keep a roof over their head. They have no choice. They have to spend more on shelter. And that's why right now things are pretty tight at the grocery store. They just don't want – they have options at the grocery store. They don't have options with banks. So my guess is that it's just going to increase the pressure. Now, if rates do go up, we're not sure. Right now, we're recording before the announcement. But if rates do go up on Wednesday, my guess is that it's probably going to impact consumers at the grocery store yet again. You know, real estate sales are still quite robust across the country despite higher rates. I mean, I don't know about you in Toronto, but here in Halifax, houses are being sold quite rapidly still. And
a house across the street from me, 2 doors down across the street, they had a showcase that went up Friday, 2 to 4 on Saturday, closed the deal by 4:31 on Saturday afternoon at $300,000 more than ask.
Yikes.
So things are picking up. There's still money to spend. So people are still spending, kind of reflecting all the way back to the beginning of the conversation. Money is still
I'm a little. I think any way you look at it, whether it's a freeze or an increase, it's not going to be good. I do suspect that at some point. I mean, I've been to airports a few times the last few weeks. Those places are packed.
Let's get to our very special guest, Sheena Russell, founder from Made with Local, as she talks about, as I said, raising the bar. It's a fantastic story. Let's have a listen.
All right. We have the pleasure to welcome Sheena Russell today, founder and CEO of Made with Local here in Halifax. Welcome, Sheena.
Thanks so much, Sylvain. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So can you tell us about yourself and your journey as the founder and CEO of Made with Local in general, and what really got you to start this wonderful business?
So I am a born and raised PEI farm kid, and that has definitely shaped me in so many ways. And that upbringing of living in a really big family in rural PEI, surrounded by, community and agriculture and, and how that all manifests as a little kid, it really embeds on you. And I grew up, moved to Halifax to do a degree in environmental science at Dalhousie University, and knew that I was going to devote my work in my life to sustainability. And I just happened to be like a huge food lover. So that really, those things in life kind of converged for me in feeling a bit restless in my work as a recent university grad, and knew that I wanted to do something that had a creative element to it, that had community impact, and the best way that I knew how to pull that all together was through food. So that was really kind of the early genesis of Made with Local. Myself and my friend at the time were sourcing all of these ingredients from other farmers and food producers in the area, and bringing those really delicious, nourishing snacks to the farmers market here in Halifax every weekend. And yeah, that was the beginning. Those were the early seeds planted.
Yeah, no, and obviously our family, we buy your products all the time. My kids love your products. We find them in many different places. Always exciting to see products from our own region, so it's great. You do emphasize on getting local, natural ingredients for your product. How do you make sure you continue to source these ingredients consistently over time? Like, how do you actually manage your supply chains overall to support your business?
Yeah, it's a big part of our company, where there's other snack food brands that probably consciously create their supply chain to be all ingredients that come from one distributor. The element in our business of managing supply chain really does gobble up probably more of the work pie than what you would see in other brands, right? Like, it's a conscious investment that we make in our business, is to be holding these relationships with varied suppliers that are farmers and food producers in Canada that are, doing things in alignment with the values that we have. So we probably spend more time on supply chain than a business of equivalent size to us. And that's, but we believe in that, right? We believe in sourcing as close to the farmer or the producer as possible, cutting out the middlemen, and working really closely with our farmers, like, for example, Van Dyke's Blueberries here in Nova Scotia. We work really closely with them on innovation and product. We work really closely with our honey suppliers. So our bars are really unique in that they're sweetened only with small batch, raw, unpasteurized honey. There's no other sweeteners in our bars, and it's kind of a hill that honestly I'll die on. Is honey. Yeah. I think honey is just like one of the most beautiful ingredients that you can consume as a person, especially, and I would not say just especially, but most importantly when it's sourced in an ethical way. So we work with two small Nova Scotian suppliers, Cosman & Whidden, and another one called Kittleson's, that we source this really beautiful wildflower blend honey from. And we work, really tightly in tandem with them to forecast out our needs. And they're planning their seasons and their harvests, really considering, the growth of Made with Local every year. So we've gotten to the point where the collaboration between us and the farmers that we work with as we continue to scale is really important. That communication is so key.
So when I think about your product, I mean, you as you said, you put a lot of effort into supply chain. So that means a lot of time and effort making sure the ingredients are of consistent quality. You're just describing some of your relations with local providers. Let's talk about it from the consumer's perspective. I mean, I was in my local Healthy Planet, for example. I think you're listed at Healthy Planet. I think I saw it on the website. And they just expanded. In fact, I just interviewed the GM from Healthy Planet, so I was kind of keen on the new store. And there is literally a wall of product that is not dissimilar to yours that you basically need to compete with. Like, you've got a compelling origin story. There's some OG bars in there. What do you think is it that gets consumers to pull that off the shelf at first look? Is it the origin story and the ingredients? What do you? I guess, phrase differently, when you do your customer research, when you talk to customers, what do they say? This is why I choose first you, and then why I continue to choose you. We've heard a bit from Sylvain, but what do you hear in general?
We hear time and time again that our bars just taste the best, and they have a really, really clean ingredient deck that people are really stoked to not only nourish themselves with, but also their families. And that's a really important distinction. And Sylvain even touched on that in the first minute of this chat was, we stand out in the category as something that millennial mom is going to be as excited to throw in her purse than she's going to be to feed to her toddler, right? And there's so few bars in the category that can traverse, that like full family snacking moment. People aren't going to feed their kids a keto bar or something that's zero sugar or, that has a lot of artificial ingredients that are maybe agitating or worse. So, folks look at our brand. It feels really approachable. It feels very value driven because it is. And ultimately, the taste and the quality of our product is so superior to anything else out there that's where we really win. And the repeat purchase comes back to, again, to Sylvain mentioning, people fall in love with the product and the taste and the experience itself. And that's what brings them back time and time again.
What's worked for you to get that first bite? Because if you're going to win on taste, your first mountain to scale, so to speak, or field to traverse, is getting people to just try it first and pick it up. Now, that was particularly hard, I guess, during COVID because trial was very difficult, right? They kind of shut down. What works for you?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting right to it yourself. It's like tons and tons of sampling. It's really big part of our marketing pie. We say tasting is believing it made with local because until you try one, you're like, okay, yeah, another bar, that's fine. But when you try it, you're like, oh my God, this is so different than anything else out there. And you can really taste the quality and the textural differences and feel that it's a very like artisanal product. So we do a lot of sampling. We focus on sponsoring sports events and including our product into sample bags at, aligned events and at grocers. We've gotten to do a little bit more in-store sampling now, but even beyond that, like my preference is not even to be doing, bites and little cups at grocery stores. Like I want to be giving people a full made with local bar so they can, take it and sit with it in their car and have that full experience of being like, oh my God, this is one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten. I need to go back in and try more. So the best way for us to get that experience happening for our customer or prospective customer base is by just getting it in their hands as much as we can. So it's a big focus for us.
Let's talk about your insights and part of advice, I guess, but also sharing how you ran into obstacles because every business does. And then what were the ones that, again, you've talked about supply chain. What other things did you overcome? I mean, getting a product listed at grocers is no easy task either. There's lots of people knocking on buyers' doors to get product listed. Talk about what you had to overcome to be the success you are today.
One of the biggest hurdles that we've overcome in the last few years was consistent capacity constraints on the manufacturing side. So historically, our brand co-packed from 2014 to 2022, we worked with one kind of home base co-packer and then did incremental growth beyond what they were able to do for us in a second co-packer in Ontario. And it was so hard. It was really hard to manage quality across those two facilities. It was really hard to manage inventory. Like, it was just like the bucket was quite leaky at Made with Local for a lot of years. And, it's hard.
You didn't feel in control, I guess. Huh?
It was real, especially through COVID, right? Where the second facility in Toronto, like, we physically could not get there. And it was really, really hard for us to feel as in control as we needed to. And again, everything from inventory management to quality, and just being like, we're kind of company because quality is so important to us. Like, we are really obsessed with creating the most delicious product ever. And if that started to slide at either of the facilities, and, we're in COVID lockdowns or whatever, it was extremely challenging. So we knew that the only true way for us to take this brand to where we know it can be and deserves to be is to take manufacturing in-house. So in 2022, we bought a building and built a manufacturing facility here in rural Nova Scotia, and now have like an exceptional, like, world-class manufacturing facility here that's taken all of our manufacturing in-house. We have an amazing team, and now are growing, as fast as we could ever imagine to. So that was a chronic pain point for a lot of years. And I think that, now we're on the other side of it, and it's completely revolutionized our business.
It must also give you more control over doing something different than the market. I mean, we've heard this before. So if I remember, Jake Carls from Midday Squares was saying this. He said, listen, our product was so unique, all the co-packers kind of made variants of the same. Was that your experience as well, Sheena?
100%. I'm so with Jake on that, and I admire the hell out of MDS. They're such a cool brand, and I just love what they're doing as well. Absolutely, right? Like, we started this company out of our own kitchens, as so many amazing brands out there have. And we knew that if we were going to start working with some big co-packer, like the co-packers that we worked with for all those years were unconventional, right? They were like community-based bakeries, and we were able to continue to maintain that kind of artisanal, soft-based baked experience with them. But we knew, because we kind of kept hitting that ceiling with those co-packers, the next big step, if we weren't going to do it ourselves, would be to go to one of the big guys. And Jake's absolutely right. Like, you go on some big, huge slab line, or you go through an extruder, and there's a reason why all of these different brands on the shelf taste the same. And it's because they're made on the same type of equipment. And we knew that, that wasn't something that we were going to entertain doing. So we got to do it ourselves. And it's been amazing. So we have zero regrets, but it had to all come together at the right time too, right? Like, we wouldn't have been ready in 2019 or 2020 to do this.
I mean, your co-packing relationships, so to speak, got you onto the grocery shelves, right? So it kind of was a launching point, at least, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the main co-packer here that we work with in Nova Scotia was really unique in that it was a social enterprise bakery. So it employed adults with barriers to the mainstream workforce. And we were like, again, in a sort of, much like we have a really, really collaborative relationship with our ingredient suppliers, we had a very collaborative relationship with that co-packer. We were there all the time. We knew, we knew all the staff and their kids. And it was just like, they were really an extension of the family here at Made with Local. And, it was really hard. It was like that conversation that we had with them, like, as soon as we decided we were going to make this move into taking things in-house, we went down and broke the news to them in person. And, we all cried together because it was sort of the end of an era. Right. But, as we navigated that, it was like, this is actually an incredible story of us sort of graduating on from their, we built with them, up into a 7-figure business at a little community bakery in Nova Scotia. Like, how incredible is that? So, it was, it ended up being a really positive story, and we're still close with them now.
You do have a social mission to support local communities, create a positive impact. Can you tell us more about how that looks like for Made with Local? What are some of the things that you've done over the last little while with your social mission?
Yeah, so we're a certified B Corp. So, impact and mission is baked into the values and the day-to-day, everything here at Made with Local. So as we've scaled, I think the inclination maybe from folks might be like, oh, the bigger you get, the kind of looser you get with that those connections to community and the farmers and the supply chain. And really for us, we've continued to use our scale to double down on being able to buy ingredients closer to the source and being able to even level up on some of the ingredients that we purchase, because our scale allows us to buy in volumes that we can reinvest into better ingredients than ever. So that's, one of the B Corp mantras is using your business as a force for good. And that's something that we think about in every aspect of this business today. So our supply chain continues to become more and more sustainable as we grow. And we're really active in the community on a regular basis, right? Our team is always volunteering with different organizations that are near and dear to our heart, usually things in the space of, food insecurity in our communities here. We've got a couple of our team members that sit on boards, and we really encourage folks to, not shy away from doing those sort of tasks, while they're, quote unquote on the clock. Like, we really encourage our team to be active in the community, and we're always, looking for ways to give back. So we've moved into this new community of Windsor here in Nova Scotia. It's a small town that's about 45 minutes outside of Halifax. And, we're sponsoring the Pride Parade this coming month and are always looking for ways to just, give back when we can. So it's a big part of who we are.
I've tasted your products many times. They're delicious. How do you come up with these new products? I mean, there seems to be something going on all the time made with local. Where do you get your inspiration? How does the R&D process looks like at Made with Local?
I mean, this is my favorite part of the job, Sylvain. It is my absolute favorite part of what we do here at Made with Local is to create new delicious foods. And it's because we're literally inspired by nature, by the harvest seasons, by what's happening with our suppliers. If we have a supplier, for example, who's testing out a new crop, we're like, okay, cool. Well, could we, once you get that established, let's think about incorporating that into one of our products. And we're really, when I say collaborative, really working closely with our suppliers to innovate new things based on what they're innovating with, right? So that's something that I get such a thrill out of. It fills my cup big time. And yeah, I think that's what makes us different too, right? Is because we're dynamic in terms of the products that we create and our vision now. And this is a huge part of why this move to in-house manufacturing is so massive for us. We really do have a vision in the coming year. What we're working on, really intensely even right now is creating products that align with the harvest, right? So we've got, I'm telling you guys first, I haven't said this to anybody yet, but we're, for the first time this year, launching
We got a scoop, Sylvain.
Yeah,
that's right.
This is a big scoop. I can't believe I'm going to tell you, but we're launching a summer strawberry bar in July this year. We'll be using Canadian grown freeze dried strawberries in a summer seasonal flavor. I am so excited about it,
yummy.
Yeah, it's so good.
When is it coming out?
Our plan is to launch it in July and run it for July and August only. So a really seasonal drop, but working with farmers in line with their harvest to create products that showcase the beautiful things that are in harvest throughout the seasons of the year. And I just, even just saying that, I'm giving myself goosebumps because that's always been the big dream for us. And, until we brought our manufacturing in-house, it's been hard to have that level of fluidity and innovation in the business. But now we can do so much cool stuff because we're doing it on our own.
I have one question for you about new products, Sheena. Your most pleasant surprise. What was the one product you felt, I don't know, and the market reacted very positively? You didn't expect it. Was there one product that really surprised you?
Lemon Square has shocked me. So we launched, so I'm a chocoholic, full on. I love chocolate in all its forms.
Join the club.
Yeah, right. I know. And that's the thing, right? I am biased in that way where I assume that the 90% of people who are looking for bars are going to pick up something that's chocolatey first. And, we've always had our blueberry almond butter flavor, which is this beautiful product that showcases Nova Scotian wild blueberries. And it's been a mainstay in our lineup for since our farmers market days, essentially. But, we had this idea. We were able, again, this is kind of comes back to like, who are we inspired by? So we were connected with this company out of Michigan that is a certified B Corp flavor house. And they do these incredible pure like food oils. So like a pure peppermint oil that's literally pure peppermint. It's not an extract. It's not a flavoring. Like it's a pure peppermint essential oil, more or less. So they also do a lemon one. I was like, okay, well, that could be fun. So we started testing around with it and using it in a cashew base. And it's so decadent and it's creamy and buttery and bright. It's incredible flavor. And I was like, okay, this is worthy of putting out in the world. But I didn't expect it to do what it did. And it's exploded into being one of our best-selling SKUs. And it has legions of like diehard lemon square lovers. So that surprised me because it's not a chocolate flavor, but people have gone bonkers for it. And I'll give you one other example that's a bit different. We rebranded or refreshed our kind of visual brand really significantly last year. So the Made with Local of 2023 is very different from how it looked, even 6 months ago. One of our SKUs, which is my absolute favorite one, it's called Peanut Butter Brownie. It's like a peanut butter base. It's got fair trade organic cocoa in it and chocolate chips and like a significant amount of sea salt. So it's just so fun. And the packaging though used to be honestly ugly as anything. Like the packaging was super ugly. It was brown. It was just like so unappetizing, but it was my favorite flavor. So I'm like, we're going to keep this around. It's not going anywhere. And it always performed fine, but almost in spite of how ugly the packaging was. And so it got a real glow up in the rebrand and got this really beautiful, like royal purple sort of color attached to it and big chunks of dark chocolate on the front. And it has since exploded and is now our number one selling SKU. Like
because of the packaging.
Because of the packaging. Yeah.
Huh.
Wow. Yeah. Good. Design consultants around the universe right now are applauding and thanking. Yes. Design, package, particularly. I mean, in some ways it's fascinating. In other ways, it should be no surprise to any of us, right? In a crowded category, a good-looking package has got to jump off the shelf, right? So, congratulations! I'm looking at it right now. It looks like a ton of fun. All right, last question. It's advice time. So I'm going to phrase this in 2 starts and 1 stop. So, with what you've learned, 2 starts to folks who either are doing what you want to do in some category or another, or aspire to. 2 things they should start doing and 1 thing they should stop doing. Maybe it used to work. Maybe it doesn't work anymore. What do you think? Oh
my goodness. For somebody who's new, that's the context here. So I would say if you're not already doing it, you need to start paying attention to your margins. This is not sexy, but it is important advice. Start paying very close attention to your margins and stop. Well, I know I'm not going to say stop in that one because I have rules that I have to follow here. But yes, so start paying close attention to your margins. The second thing I would say, if you're not already, is start telling your story on 1 or 2 key social media platforms. TikTok is an incredible one. If you can get yourself in front of the camera and break through the imposter syndrome or whatever that you might be experiencing, get yourself out there and start telling the story of your brand because, Made with Local today has a incredibly devout community of supporters because for the last 10 years, we've been building a brand through authenticity and connection. So those are my 2 starts. And stop doubting yourself. That would be my big stop. And that's my mantra to myself too, is I just mentioned there a couple of seconds ago about imposter syndrome. It is vicious. It will slow you down. And just, if you can develop a daily practice of releasing self-doubt, that would be my stop doubting yourself.
All right. I got one quick follow-up question. How do you reconcile the mission and your ethics with some of the platforms? So it's pretty clear that some of the platforms have created a bit of chaos in society. There is some very clear research around female suicides, for example, being very high. How do you reconcile that? I mean, we know it's not all bad. We know, it's some bad. How do you get past that? You don't think of it in that way?
No, I absolutely do think of it. And I think about, so I'm a mom of 2 little girls, and I think about how I am going to help them understand the internet and the world of social media as they get older. And honestly, it's a big driver for me as I continue to grow this brand to be able to kind of liberate myself from being as out front all the time as I currently am. I mean, I think for like a startup founder, it's really important to be kind of immerse yourself in the early days, but I've been doing this for 10 years at this point. Yeah. So again, the foundation has been built and I can for sure pop in and out of our social media in a weekly way instead of a daily type.
But at some point, it's got to transcend the founder, right? You've got to have
for sure
truth in the brand, which you embody. But eventually, you have to transcend that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a big question, Michael, and I think it's something that I absolutely do think about a lot. And I mean, as the thing that I've reconciled this when you said platform, I wasn't sure if you meant social media platform or even sales platform, because for example. I had to go kicking and screaming. My team pushed me kicking and screaming to list our products on Amazon, for example, right? Because I was like, no, right? This is again, like what Amazon has done to, I shouldn't say have done to, but they've drastically changed the landscape of consumerism, right? And that's something that I've really struggled with. But the narrative shift that I've continued to come back to is that, okay, like these things exist, these platforms exist. How can we use our voice and our business as a force for good on these channels where all of our people already are there, right? We're not encouraging more people to sign up for a TikTok account or to shop on Amazon. Everybody's already there. And how can we continue to use these places that for sure have shaky values at the best of times, but use those platforms as a little amplifier for our values. Right. So, all right. We're doing our best.
All right. Well, where can we find your products and how do we get in touch with you? Are you a LinkedIn person? You've got a store finder on your website, which is madewithlocal.com. Follow you on social media, but are you a LinkedIn person? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Absolutely. Find me, Sheena Russell, on LinkedIn. Made with Local is on, like I said, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of the above. And we are in 3,000 grocery stores all across Canada and online.
I think you're one of the best in the country when it comes to social media, to be honest. You're so good at it, very personable, and emotional as well, in a right way. I'm just thinking about your latest video when you visited the bakery during wildfires in our region. It was so touching. Anyways, you're very good at it. We're as an Allegonian myself, we're very proud of what you've done the last decade, and I wish you all the best. Another 20, 30, 40 years in business. I think you're doing a wonderful job. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Sylvain.
All right. I have one comment. Like, as I was listening to Sheena, I did not know that product. I've never tried it. And it highlights both the challenge and the opportunity. So I'm going to go out and buy now. I'm going to go out and buy some now. I visit my local planet or whatever. But I had not, because it takes so much to get even, and I tried a bunch of different products. I'm kind of in the industry, but there's a lot of choice, right? So congratulations on how far she's gotten already with that company. And it highlights, I've never heard of him. So on the upside, glass half full or bar half snacked, could have another customer, and so there's lots more of us out there. Let's hope that is the way it all kind of works out. All right, let's bring it home with a couple other things. Baby formula again. So this is well-tread discussion, and I guess for the listeners who may not be keeping track, I'm going to try and summarize, and you jump in if I get anything kind of wrong in a very big picture. A couple of plants who make, and it's really only 2 plants in America that make a lot of baby food. They got shut down for inspection and health reasons, like the right reasons, I guess you could say. So there's been this huge shortage of baby formula. Now, there is a plant in Kingston that is making baby formula, but it is exclusively owned and shipped out to the Chinese consumer, who had their own baby formula crisis a few years back. Yep. Where do we, why can't someone make another plant? Because isn't this how capitalism works? We can't get enough of something made. Let's start a new plant and take advantage of this. What's going on here?
I think the approach is to actually get other products, say from Europe, to be licensed, and so we can allow companies like Walmart and grocers to actually import some products from outside the U.S. You are absolutely right. There is a plant in Kingston owned by the Chinese, but that plant is actually idle. Nothing is really happening.
What's going on?
Yeah. I'm not. Nobody really knows, but the facility
kills
exists.
The breeze.
I know,
kills the breeze,
and it was partially subsidized by Canadian taxpayers.
Sure.
I mean, it was. I believe the cost to build that plant was well over $300 million, and we paid a part of that construction fee, and we're not benefiting from it at all. So I don't know what's going on. Our best hope. And I think it's been the approach by Health Canada is to allow more products into the market. But going back to the U.S., which is really where the problem is that last year you had Abbott being impacted by a recall, and now just recently Gerber out of Wisconsin impacted by a recall. So there are major shortages in the U.S. And if you're a company out of the U.S., what are you going to do? Are you going to prioritize the Canadian market? No. You're basically going to try to satisfy the needs of your own customers domestically, which is why I think right now Canada really looks, silly, essentially, because we don't have any other options. But I would say that really
like capitalism run amok, basically, because this is where we ran into this in the pandemic. We didn't have any domestic supply of vaccines or whatever. And I guess it's saving $1 to cost you 100. So,
but for some reason, I don't see anybody knocking on the door of the Chinese in Kingston. There's no will to do that, and I'm scratching my head over that.
Maybe we can launch a TikTok campaign. Maybe they'll pay attention to that. Or Douyin.
Maybe we should TikTok. The Chinese. I heard that they're actually looking at TikTok very closely. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a rumor.
Yeah, maybe it's a rumor. Maybe it's a rumor that they got their thumb on the scale about what we see. Other news. But listen, hey, what can the government do here? I mean, there are certain things that need to be available in this country. I got to think baby formula is pretty important. I mean, it's pretty close to can't do without.
That the dairy farmers
of
Canada received well over $300 million in the last budget to do some R&D to deal with to develop new products. That's code for they're dumping milk, and they need to figure out something to do with that dumped milk.
Oh, we got an idea. Do you have any ideas that you can do with that dumped milk? Anything come to mind? My goodness.
I don't know.
It's a win for everybody. Anyway, I feel like I'm ranting now, but it's a win for everybody. You got moms out there who will appreciate you for the rest of their lives for doing this. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes a lot of expertise. Anyway, for anybody who might be in that industry listening, I'm sure this will not convince them to do it, but okay, rant over. There you go.
Yeah. The only challenge, of course, the economics of selling baby formula or building a plant are not strong because we're having.
Well, that's where the government's. That's where the government's got to step in, right? That's where the government, just like in vaccines, just like in electronic vehicle emission battery plants, where they gave Volkswagen a lot of your and my money for all the maybe good, maybe not so good.
To build a plant that is going to be obsolete once it's built.
Oh, don't be so cynical! Don't be so cynical.
It's not my sector. It's not my area. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
None of it's my sector, so I can feel free to just lob innuendo all podcasts long. All right, let's end with June 8th is World Ocean Day. So funny, we're talking about aquaculture, and we heard how much stress the oceans are under. So what do you expect?
The blue economy.
I tell you, man, I love the ocean, but I worry about free floating, little balls of plastic and garbage dumps and all the negative stuff.
We got to take care of our ocean. We got to take care of our ocean. I think
it's World Ocean Day. Okay, it's World Ocean Day. And since I'm on a kind of a negative, cynical.
You're not negative. You're being realistic.
So what? So it's World Ocean Day. What's going to happen? I'm sure a bunch of people who are ocean stewards take the opportunity to raise its profile. Wonderful.
Have a shrimp or two. Maybe it'll calm you down.
Have a shrimp or two, not slave shrimp, of course, which is kind of dominating a little bit of some of the shrimp supply chain in parts of the world. But are you optimistic? How are you thinking about the world's oceans? I mean, we hear great things apparently happening in aquaculture that could kind of close that gap. for feeding us in like a farm type way? Are you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is being the oceans are finished. I'm you know, it's terrible, to 10 being I'm very optimistic they could bounce back. Where are you on that scale, 1 to 10?
I feel quite optimistic. I mean,
right.
Obviously, I'm on the East Coast. There's a lot of research being done right now.
Yeah, very smart people.
On sustainable oceans, and of course, there's the pollution side of things, and we need to take care of that. But also, I feel that the sector in general, and I can think of lobsters, crab. All of these companies, and last week we talked about aquaculture. I mean, all of these companies in that space are fully aware, as farmers are, that if you don't take care of your playground, oceans, you're not going to be able to do business for long. And what has changed in recent years is that we've been dumping our problems onto somebody else's backyard, and they start to say no. And so that we have to deal with our own problems ourselves, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're making there are some regulations around packaging now. Single-use plastics are slowly fading away. I mean, all of these things are, I think, very positive and will help oceans over the long term. And my only concern to me has always been affordability and products that are coming out. It is a very weird industry in Canada. I mean, 10% of what we produce in fish and seafood we consume, and 90% we actually export. And 90% of what we eat in Canada is imported. So I just don't know how that can be sustainable. You know, that's the one thing that I suspect will come up more and more.
Yeah, the economics seem to be topsy-turvy.
And it's the same in the U.S., by the way. We're not different in the U.S. The U.S. is the same. So I think at some point, but 50% of the world population has fish and seafood as its main source of protein.
Sure.
So it's the blue economy is a huge source of protein for a lot of people.
Yeah, you know, we'll have to get someone on to talk about that broadly next season. I mean, we had a bit of a dip into aquaculture, but it got me thinking about all these things, and it got me more positive at the end of the day.
There you go.
There you go. Well, with that, let's wrap this episode. Another wonderful episode. I'm Michael LeBlanc, consumer growth consultant, podcaster, keynote speaker. And you are?
I'm your sidekick, the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
All right, everybody. Listen, if you're hearing this sound of our voice, tell your friends in the industry all about us so more people can hear the sound of our voice, so to speak. But and we'd love your feedback. So thanks for everything. Thanks for listening, Sylvain. Talk to you next week.
Take care.